I'm Shanna Kobe. Welcome back to my blog. Even though it's been a while since I posted a blog, I'm still reading and immersing myself in all of this wonderful information and trying to just grow and hopefully share this with others, which is why I'm back with a new blog today. In fact, today what I wanted to talk about is this interesting dichotomy that we have occurring within each of us. The best way that I know to describe this is by sharing something that an old Cherokee told his grandson. He told his grandson that within each of us we have two wolves at battle. One is evil, or for semantic purposes I prefer to say ego, and it is qualities of guilt, resentment, anger, frustration, fear, feelings of inferiority or superiority, greed, lying, things of that nature. Whereas the other half is, he calls good, or in my case I prefer to say spirit. And those are qualities of peace, love, joy, humility, hope, compassion, things of that nature. What I wanted to do today is just to kind of take a step back and look within ourselves to see where do we find ourselves predominantly invested, and kind of decide if we want to stay there or move into or shift into our spirit more. So what I found interesting, I found very fascinating as I've come to learn more about each of these two halves of ourselves, is that depending on which one we are viewing the world from, as there is an inverted relationship between strength and weakness. So let me just kind of go into a little bit more definition of the ego. The ego also believes that we are our occupation, so we are what we do. It also believes that we are what we have, so our possessions or our socioeconomic status. It also believes that we are our reputation, or what people think of us. That's a biggie. It also believes that we are our beliefs, and I'll go into, just kind of earmark that one because I'm going to go into that one probably in another blog. And it also believes that we are the roles that we play either in our family or in society. So think about it. When we start to ask ourselves, who are we, when we can't answer that we are what we do, we are a role in society or our family, we are what people think of us, we are what we have, or we are our beliefs. When we begin to strip these qualities away, we see that what we're not left with, I prefer to say what is revealed to us, is our spirit or our true nature. I think that for all of humanity, those qualities are love, peace, and joy. But at an individual level, I think that it's our unique path is being revealed to us. It's living our unique path. And that in doing so, we're somehow bringing about those qualities in our life. And we're bringing about love, peace, and joy, and helping others in that process. So I found that when I started to learn more about these two halves, I found that I really was strongly identified with my ego, especially in that second half of the definition where, we believe, or the ego believes that we are what we do. So for instance, I found myself in situations where by choice I've chosen not to work, and then I've become very nervous about going into a social situation and being asked the inevitable, what do you do? I can tell that my ability to answer that question, my comfort level with answering that question, is a good barometer for determining if I'm of my ego or if I'm of my spirit. And I'll tell you that there's been a lot of work that I've had to do to move into my spirit. Because when first entering those social situations and not having this answer that I could put a nice bow on and say, I work at such and such place, so yay me, that was kind of hard. I would get a little nervous and I would try to kind of collect myself and think of some way to answer the question in a way that answered it, but I don't know. What I had to find is that I just had to let go of it, and there were two things happening. I had to let go of the fact that I wasn't what I did, and I had to let go of the fact of what people thought of whatever my answer may or may not have been. So sometimes I would answer with something like cheeky, like, what do you do? Oh, I don't. Or something, or I would shift the conversation. I had recently spent a year in Guatemala, so I would kind of shift it to that. There's only so long I can use that answer. But what happened in those scenarios was I would I would just shift the conversation, and they would forget about the question they had asked me. So that kind of worked in my favor. And then finally, I could tell that I was just getting more comfortable. Like, I don't work, and in today's economy, someone might think like, oh, okay, she doesn't have a job, and my ego would, in the past, would normally probably want to flare up and protect myself and be like, no, I don't have a job because of my choice. It's not because I'm in this particular situation. But what I found is that as I move more into my spirit, that's fine. That's great. If that's what they want to think, that is absolutely fine, and it saves me from having to come up with an answer, because honestly, I don't have an answer. All I'm trying to do is just align with my truest nature and live that and move forward from there, and not worry about giving someone an answer that fits in a nice little box. So, moving on down to we are our roles. I haven't had such a problem with that. I've not, gone from being married to not married and had to deal with that role transition. Mine have been pretty static. Daughter, sister, friend. But maybe you felt that. Maybe you felt some sort of shift in a role from being married to divorce or something like that. And you have to kind of come to realize that role wasn't who you were. It just, move into the spirit, and you'll see that isn't your true essence. That was just one aspect of yourself. One of the other big ones for me that I've kind of already touched on is that, we're not our reputation. We're not what people think of us. And no matter how hard I try to think that, it doesn't matter what people think, I see that one creep up on me the most. Even now, when I'm fully immersed in making this choice to live from my heart and to live from my spirit, I still feel that fear kind of rise, like, oh, what are people going to think when I do that? And it really came up when I put this blog together, and I first shared it with all of you. There was fear involved with it, but now what I realize is that when I see that fear come up, I have to understand that, or I'm now aware that fear is of the ego, and I can choose to be ruled by it, or I can choose to see beyond it and just listen to my heart and move forward from there, which is what I'm trying to do and what I have done. And like I said, it still crops up, but I just try to see it for what it is and not let it stifle me in those moments. So what I've found is that in understanding that I'm not all these ego identifiers, that there was a couple of things that were able to happen for me. I was able to continue to peel back the layers as to who I really was. I could peel back all that old conditioning and just keep on moving into, like, who am I of my heart, of my spirit. And in doing so, it's helped me to begin to align. I don't have an answer. I still can't answer you as to what is my life path. All I know is that right now I have opened myself up to listening, and that's a really big new step for me, because for a long time I just ran my life from my ego, which was just me trying to tell me what to do. And now when you live from your spirit, you can open yourself up for guidance from above to kind of team up with you and help guide you. So in these moments, what I'm doing is listening, and I started to share this blog, and I've started to do some other things that are, writing and whatnot. But again, don't have an answer that I can put a little bow around. So the most exciting thing is letting go of that need to have that little pretty bow tied out and tied on the box, and be like, ooh, this is what I do. This is who I am. Now I just kind of open myself up to it, and the more free, the more open I can be, the more that things can flow through me, that I can connect with and live my right path. And so that's something else that I would consider for each of you to do, or as a reason to move out of the ego and into the spirit. If you find yourself really unhappy in where you are, maybe it's because you're having trouble letting go of some of those aspects of your ego. And what I found in my experience is that as I started to let go of it, let go of that conditioning, again, just opened me up to it. I don't think it's the case for everyone, because I guess we all know there's artists out there that tap into that creative quality that I think is connected to source, but they still have pretty big egos. So I think it was just for me. My conditioning had taken me really far away from being connected to my heart. So for me, I had to strip it down in order to connect with it.